Because I think they were trying to get people away from staring at the play after it's all been complete.
No, but now my eyes are on the glove.
Yeah, your eyes go to the glove, and then you make your call.
Okay.
Because he can't really be out unless secure possession, voluntary release, right? Mm-hmm. That's when he's truly out. And what did we just create by doing that? Timing. What does Evans say? You're just delaying going 1001, 1002, or replaying it in your head is just delaying a bad call. It's just delaying the missed call. Because if in your mind you thought he was out, but you didn't go through your progression of steps, you just delayed that bad call by a second.
I don't like how he gives just 2 strikes either instead of 0-2.
I always go 2-1, 1-2.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys have been given 2-2 and 3-1.
And I'm like, what the hell?
And I asked them, and I said, well, and they said, well, because there's something that's going to happen on the next one. So 3-1.
What's gonna happen?
We just need some polish here.
I agree.
Hey, we got
Yeah, the basics are there. Plate stance is solid. Voice is good. Good idea of the strike zone. I told him yesterday, just marrying up the signal and the verbal is going to be a large part of polishing himself up. So hopefully he works on that today.
It's a tough one when you've been doing it wrong for 10 years.
Good call, but we need a verbal on that one. Okay, that's a close pitch that looks like a strike to the dugout, and the lack of a verbal call, especially when we've been giving a verbal ball call to this point, it makes it look like you're unsure, or like the pitch caught you off guard and you just got frozen by it, which might have happened, but we still got to call it a ball. Call was correct, but not very believable. Little over anxious by our third base umpire there. Third base umpire! Third base! We've got to read what happens as R1 rounds second base. He had no intention of going to third there, but we had our third base umpire pushing toward third. So that's wasted steps. Okay? We've got to be economical with our movement out there. Yeah. Did you read R1?
First base umpire we left in there, but just keep in mind, don't get sucked into an ordinary. Probably the first base umpire was 1 or 2 steps too aggressive too. You got
Inside. Good zone. Those are 3 consecutive pitches that get missed a lot. Front door slider that was off the plate, correctly balled. Outside corner fastball with a check swing, correctly called a strike, and then a pitch off the plate, just a little bit, correctly called a ball. So, good establishment of the zone. He starts in a good position with his depth, but then the catcher adjusts forward, and now we're no longer in a good position. So as he makes that last adjustment, we've got to go with him because, and that was a perfect example, pretty close pitch down in the zone, outside part of the plate, might have been a strike. That's the one that as we get too far behind the catcher, we lose our perspective on. So we're set, and so starting position in that situation was at the back end of acceptable. You could start a little bit closer, but then as he adjusts forward, we gotta make sure we go with him. Let's see if the catcher adjusts forward here. A little bit forward, yeah. So we're kind of cemented in. to our initial starting position, and that needs to, we got to be flexible. Post pitch step, first base umpire.
You beat me to that one.
I saw you creeping. You got to take a post pitch step. Yeah, every time the ball crosses through the strike zone, we got. You really want guys to be aggressive, huh? As much as possible.
When they can be, yeah. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to end up. I don't like the safe umpire.
Yeah, I know. I've heard you say that.
Yeah, I don't like.
Just run to the X and.
Just runs to the X and flips a coin and says out or safe. I want the guy who's going to be aggressive. I want the guy who's going to, take that extra step and try to push himself and push the mechanics so that he does get in the best position. Because you got to be aggressive and screw up a couple of times before you start getting it right.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to put it.
Instead of trying, never.
But you can't learn from those mistakes if you don't do something aggressive to start with.
Exactly.
Do we have 2 outs there? We got to go inside on that, right? Once you decide that that ball's not trouble and you're not going to go out, the only thing that can happen is if it drops, we want to be inside ahead of that runner.
The only thing I didn't know is how many outs, and I kept asking.
But even if there's 1 out,
right.
Still, if that ball drops, we got to be in and ahead of the batter runner. Okay. It was a good read, and I liked the time you took to see it. That part was good, but just recognize that once we decide it's not trouble, we want to come inside.
Okay.
All right. Hey, you did a good job today, man. I like your work.
Thank you.
You're thinking out there, which is important.
Good. Down, Greg. 4. That's fine. Good job.
Oof. So probably a missed call there for some reason, and the reason is most probably that we over-rotated a little bit behind that guy. So if we kept ourselves on the base side of his body instead of swinging around, straight behind his back, we would have had a better perspective on when that runner got to the plate, because from my angle, it looked like the runner's foot never got to the plate and the tag got to his body. So
Ryan's now warming up to taking at bat.
that would not go well. Hey, it's gonna be hard for you to do it today, but I want you to be conscious of where your eyes are going at all times. Okay?
Catch is good.
Third base umpire. Where are you going? You moved this way as soon as that ball was hit. Were you getting out of the way? Oh, okay. Then you're still in. I thought you were moving. I thought you were running toward third base, but I mean.
I literally almost made the head.
Did you?
Yes.
Well, good job. And good call. Nice development of our angle. Excellent job. All over it. Let's do this part right. You got the hard part right. You almost went in the wrong direction afterwards, though. No, you were thinking about going back towards second base. Good job. Guys, I like what he did here as far as closing the distance down toward the play. A lot of times what happens is we see that ball going towards the boundary and we just run to the boundary, okay? But especially when it's on the, in someone else's coverage area, we want to get down to see that, because what's our possible plays here? All around that front edge of the dugout. Does he come in the dugout? Does the ball hit the fence? And I'd much rather be in this position than over by the fence here. So gain distance towards the play and towards the boundary at the same time.